Hey guys, Joe here. We're moving on from Tier 3, our off-body everyday carry bag. We're going to take those same items, if we carry them at all, and move them into our Tier 4 activity bag. We're stacking more on because that's the whole point of a tiered gear system. We're adding more functionality. And Tier 4 is our activity bags. These are bags designed and loaded out to perform a specific task or achieve a certain goal. And there's tons of different activities, so tons of different bag designs and loadouts. Just to show you a few I have my North Face Mini Borealis. This is just for when I go out on the town for a couple hours to play Pokemon Go, slap in my Tier 3 off-body EDC, slap in some water, some snacks, a larger battery bank, and I'm good to go. But if I'm going to go out for a multi-day hike, obviously I need something else, but it's still an activity bag, so I bring out my Kelty Red Wing 50, or if I'm going to do an overnighter like I have packed right now, this is my Caramore SF Predator. 30 liter. But if I want something in between those, maybe I'm just going out on the trail for a day, I might bring out something like my Hidden Woodsman EDC Ruck. This is very clearly based on a school bag. I carry it in more rural, outdoors, wilderness environments. But this Molly in a suburban area might kind of scare some people off. They don't necessarily care about camo, but the military style features might scare them off. So I have a bag that's very, very similar, but without Molly. This is the all-purpose bag from Eagle Industries. It's got black multicam, not very threatening, no Molly, so it's not very military. But even that, this is a nicer bag. This has some military camouflage, so in real urban inner city environments, this might be assigned to someone to steal from me, or, you know, oh no, call the cops, we got a dude with a scary black military bag. So I have something even for that. That's what those two bags are based on. A Jansport Super Break, which is my actual school bag from 10-15 years ago, still holding up, not very expensive, not going to attract thieves, and not going to get Granny Gertrude to call the cops on me because, oh no, scary military features. You know, again, there's just so many bags just in my own collection, let alone everyone else in the world that does a lot more or does different things from me. We could not possibly discuss it all in one video. So what can we discuss? We can discuss some of the things to help you understand what kind of bag to select, some things you want to know about the terminology out there to avoid a lot of the marketing, and also how to think about loading up your bag, how to load it, and how to wear it for activities. Now, I'm going to focus more on outdoors, tactical type of stuff, because that's my area of expertise, but I'm sure there's analogous things for indoors folks as well, and that's the first thing you got to think about. Is your activity indoors or outdoors? Because the bags are designed very differently for both environments. Indoor bags are typically softer, lighter, more aesthetic. They're not going to be able to withstand a lot of the abuse you're going to see in the outdoors. And vice versa. A lot of outdoors are built very rugged, very thick, very heavy. They don't have a lot of give, so they're not necessarily going to be good in an office or school environment where you might bump into something. An indoor bag will give a little. An outdoor bag will just take that thing clear off the desk or wipe out your classmate if you run into them in a hurry to class or whatnot. It can be done, but it's just not as good as carrying an actual dedicated indoors bag. So, sorry guys out there in the tactical crowd, I'm a tactical bro with you. Military bags just are not appropriate for everything, and they're not even appropriate for everything in the outdoors, let alone the indoors. So make sure you're picking a bag that fits the task and the environment that task is going to be in. Moving off of that, specifically for my outdoorsy folks, again, my specialty, you're going to hear a lot of marketing nonsense about denier, about the materials that you need to have in your gear. It would behoove you, whether you're indoors or outdoors focused, to learn a little bit about the fabric and textile industry. To one, make sure you're not wasting money, but to make sure you're getting something that actually works for you. The common thing in the outdoors and tactical crowd is 1000D Cordura. So I want to break that down. What is 1000D? What the heck is Cordura? And is it really that awesome? So 1000D. D stands for denier, and it does not measure strength. A lot of people think 1000D means it's twice as strong as 500D. Not true. It is a mass length measurement. It is a very convoluted thing in the textile industry. It's been around for a long time. I've done my research and I still don't quite understand where it came from. But denier, what they do is they take a 9,000 meter length of that specific fabric's fiber and then they weigh it in grams. So 1000D means that 9,000 meters of that thread weighs 1,000 grams. Why they use that as a measurement system, I don't truly know, but that's what denier means. 1000 denier is not necessarily twice as strong as 500D, it's twice as mass-centric. It has twice the mass length of 500D. Now, does that translate to strength? kind of, but not in the way that people think. It's not twice as much, 3 times as much, or anything like that. It's not linear like that. And it really depends on the materials. Certain materials are going to be stronger at 1000D than 500D, and other ones are just going to be heavier, not necessarily better for the task you have at hand. That moves us on into the fabrics. There are a million different fabrics that gear is often made out of, but for the hardcore outdoors and tactical bags, you'll often see ballistic nylon or Cordura. Cordura is a nylon fabric, just like ballistic style nylon. There's multiple names for ballistic style nylon. It's just used that way because it was often used in military style gear in the past. Now, with ballistic nylon, it's specific weave, specific variant of nylon fabric, and it's going to be more tensile strength, so stretching strength, and it's going to have better tear resistance than Cordura. Cordura, however, is a little bit more similar to a natural fiber, even though it's still synthetic, still a nylon derivative, and it's going to be more abrasive resistant. So Cordura isn't magically better than ballistic nylon, even though it's often going to cost a lot more because it's a trademarked fabric. It just depends on what you're doing. Do you need abrasion resistance more than tear and tensile strength? Then go with Cordura. If not, which most people do not need abrasion resistance, ballistic nylon is going to be perfectly fine. Just make sure you're not paying as much for that as you would a Cordura fabric. Cordura will always be more expensive because it's trademarked and because it's the in thing, the marketable thing in the outdoors and tactical gear space. Personally, I'm fine with a 500D ripstop. I think that's perfectly fine for most people, but a lot of people prefer to go for the heavier duty hardcore stuff like ballistic nylon and Cordura. They try to go for 1000D, sometimes even higher in some bags, like a 1050D ballistic nylon. Don't really need it in most cases, just marketing. Now moving on from that, we've picked what kind of bag we're going with. We're trying to understand what it's made out of, make sure we're not wasting money and falling for marketing pulleys. Now we need to actually put stuff in it. Again, the stuff we're putting in it is going to be very specific to you and your activity. I can't tell you what to put in it, but what I can tell you is how to pack it. You want to make sure your heavier stuff is at the bottom, lighter stuff is at the top. You want to be as grounded as possible. When you're top heavy, you can fall easy, you can easily injure your shoulders, your back. I have a chronic back injury going all the way back to middle school football. I can tell you, it really, really sucks to get it, especially at a young age. You want to protect your back as much as possible. I also have a torn knee and other sports injuries. You really don't want to do that, especially if you're young. Make sure you're packing your bags appropriately. And if you're going to carry a lot of weight, your bag needs to have a waist strap, a good quality padded waist strap. Same thing with your shoulder straps, and a sternum or chest strap. It helps better distribute the weight. You don't want all that heavy weight on your shoulders. You can hit some of it on your hips, and that can help distribute it better. Let's say you take a 40-pound pack without a waist belt, you will notice it versus with a waist belt. I took my standard loadout before, but without a good solid waist belt, I ended up with 6 months of shoulder injury recovery because all that weight was on my shoulders versus how it typically was on my waist. And I did like 20 miles in that day just to test it out. I ruined my shoulders for a good chunk of that year. Again, like 6 months. So waist straps really do make a difference. Make sure you're investing in a good pack that has them and has good quality ones. Same thing with the sternum strap. Now for ladies and larger men, they're going to have a little bit more chest area or a little bit more gut. Unfortunately for you, you're going to have to spend a little bit more money to make sure you're getting a bag that really fits your shape, because a lot of the cheaper or even mid-grade bags, the sternum strap and the hip strap are very set in place, not very adjustable. The nicer bags, the more expensive bags, are going to be adjustable, are going to be movable, where you can move that sternum strap up and down, up and around, or up and over your chest area, or up and around your fupa, as we call it around here, your gut, and things like that. Unfortunately, there is a tax on being larger, bustier, and things like that. It is getting better. Some of the more affordable brands are starting to incorporate more adjustable setups, but typically you're going to be spending a little bit more money. There's not much I can tell you to get around that. It's just something you got to do if you want to make sure you're taking care of your body. I would not say saving money is more important than potentially ruining your back by not having hip straps and properly fitting shoulder straps and sternum straps. It really is worth the investment if you want to protect your body as someone who has long-standing chronic injuries from sports and gear-related activities. I learned my lessons, so you don't have to. Now, beyond that, there isn't much more to talk about. it's just making sure you're picking the right bag. It really suits you and the weights you're holding, making sure that you're holding the right weight in the right places. You're making sure it's comfortable. You're investing the money into gear that helps protect you from long-term injuries. Now we're going to go a step further by going on to tier 5 and talk about a specific kind of activity bag. This is going to be our emergency bag. This is something that's super important, super critical, and very involved, especially because we have to talk about all the misinformation that's out there, especially here on YouTube. So that gets its own tier with tier 5, and it may even end up as a 2-part video. We'll see. So until then, stay safe, stay informed, be sure to be kind, share some love, be positive, even if you're not feeling up to it. You never know what a little smile or hug or kind word can do for people. These are dark, rough times. A little bit can really change someone's day, if not change their life, and sometimes you never know what someone's going through. So just be a good person. Till then, see you in the next one.